Right, Ashley is in. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and then hopefully you should be able to see me. Hello. So I know it kind of looks like I live in a sauna. I live in a little cabin at the end of my friend's garden, and I hoped I would have my own house by now, but hashtag COVID and all that. So that's on my list of goals for 2021, is to get myself out of this very lovely cabin and into my own little space. So welcome everybody. And first of all, just Happy New Year. Great to see you all. I was going to do like a PowerPoint presentation, but I'd much rather see all your beautiful faces. So really great to see. We've got about 17 people on the call today, which is awesome. Super pleased. And I'm just really pleased that you guys prioritized yourself and got yourselves here. So thanks, first of all, for giving up part of your Sunday to be here with me. So yeah, basically, if you're somebody who's looking to change the record in 2021, then I think you're gonna love this workshop. I'm hoping to put a lot of value into this, so you'll get something out of it no matter what. But I just wanted to say that I've helped people go from feeling like stressed out, busy butterflies on LSD, as one of my clients mentioned, to being clear-headed, well-rested masters of their minds over 2020. And as I say, I just want to make sure that you get a ton of value from this workshop. And I want to make sure that I can give you some things that you can implement right now. And then for those of you who might want to take it on a stage further and get some support in some of the things that I've talked about today, we can discuss that at the end. And full disclosure, I've got my notes here in front of me just to reference, just to make sure that I don't forget anything and I cover everything that I had to cover. And we're going to be together for, oh, hang on, let me just make sure I'm recording before I do that. Oh, it's already recording. I love technology. It takes care of me when I don't even know what I'm doing. So yeah, full disclosure, I've got my notes here to reference and we're going to be together for about an hour. And I'll try my best not to talk too fast or to talk too much. And so I hope I'll have us done by 11 a.m. this morning. And as I say, because I'm recording, I'm going to send you the replay. So if you miss anything, don't worry, you can always go back and reference the recording later on. So I'll try to get that to you within the next sort of 24 hours. And yeah, as I said before, just make sure you've got like a notebook and a coffee or a tea, just so you can make some notes as we're going along. But first things first, I can see some familiar faces, but I'd love to know where you guys are tuning in from. So maybe if you just want to like pop in the chat whereabouts in the world you're tuning in from, so we can all say hello to each other. I can see some familiar faces from Totnes. So hi, everybody. Let's see, what have we got? Manchester, going strong. My brother lives in Wilmslow, not too far away. London, massive. Stamford, quite a few from Manchester. Weybridge, massive. Bristol, Bridgetown, go Sarah. Oh, we've got another one from Surrey as well, Charlie. And Wales, over the borders. Lovely. Oh, this is really cool. So we've got somebody from England, Scotland, Wales. Be great if we had somebody from Ireland. Can somebody just pretend to be from Ireland, and then we've got the whole pack. But that's what I love about doing these workshops, really, is just, I can talk to people around the country. I've been talking to people in other countries this year, so it's wonderful, really, that we can just embrace this technology and all come together, really, for our own growth and expansion. Oh, Richard, thank you. You can be from Ireland. Great. There we go. I've got the full set. So yeah, I mean, it would be remiss of me to not mention 2020, but I'm kind of, I think we're done with that. But needless to say, it was a pretty eye-opening year in one way or another. And I think, for some of us, it really helped us realize like what wasn't working, like maybe what we didn't want, perhaps, so perhaps if we sort of look at it that way, it's now giving us an opportunity, like New Year's and the end of one year and the beginning of another always gives us a really good opportunity to, reflect on maybe what didn't work or what we didn't like, or what did work and what we did like and what we want to build upon. And so, now it's kind of like a case of, are you ready to focus on what it is that you do want? So I know some of you have already given me some insight, but I just kind of want to ask you right now, if you've got something that you're already thinking about, like, just let me know, share with the other people in the chat, like perhaps what it is that you're hoping to get out of 2021, or more specifically, like what it is, your intention about what it is you'd like to get out of this workshop today. Maybe it's just clarity, maybe it's just structure, maybe it's just a bit of peace of mind, a bit of calm, just like maybe if you just start verbalizing a little bit of what it is that you want to birth in 2021. So we've got motivation from Ashley, lovely. It can be looking to just review like the structures that you've got. Oh, discipline, like that, Charlie. Oh, we've got another one coming in. There we go. Clarity, focus, and energy, like that, Jude. Space for serenity, Jill. I love that. Sergey, am I pronouncing that right, Sergey? I hope so. It looks like a Sergey. It's not a Sergey. Can you say?
No, it's Sergey.
Oh, Sergey. My apologies. Thank you for correcting me. Thank you.
No worries, no worries.
So Sergey saying peace of mind. That's brilliant. I'm just gonna. Can you just pop yourself back on mute for me, Sergey? Is that all right? I can't find you quickly to do that.
So. Yes, I am on mute. Usually, I just unmuted to reply to your question. Sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. I was just trying to find you again so I could mute you, but I couldn't find you in the grid. So I'm just making sure that you're remuted. So thank you for that. Yeah, so brilliant. I'm really glad and grateful that you've shared, those intentions. And, when I look at those, it kind of tells me, I mean, the obvious answer is that if you're telling me that that's what you want, then the obvious sort of response to that is saying, well, that's, you don't already have that. You wouldn't be asking for that if you didn't already have it. So you might be thinking to yourself, like, what is it that I'm doing wrong? Or, maybe like, where is the missing link? Like maybe you've tried some things already. Maybe it's like exercise or meditation or diet, and they just haven't worked for you. Or maybe you just don't know where to start whatsoever, and that's why you're here. So yay, and give yourself a little pat on the back for that, for just being aware of the things that you want to welcome into your life. And as I say, the fact that you're here just tells me that you're curious to learn more about this. And we're going to get into perhaps why you don't feel some of these feelings already. And I'm going to try and help to perhaps pinpoint some areas that you could focus on that are going to be the shift that the shift that you might need to make in order to make those changes in your world. So I want to, at this point, kind of refer back to the quote that I put in some of the promotions that I did for this workshop. And that's the Henry Ford quote, which is, if you always do what you've always done, then you'll always get what you've always got. So the premise really of this is that, if you want something different out of your life, then you're going to need to put something different into it. It makes sense, right? If you keep doing the same thing over and over, you're just going to keep getting the same results. So, the amazing thing is that when we think about like our mental health and our well-being, we often like look to the same usual suspects in terms of like exercise or, like I said, diet, even mindfulness, that kind of thing. But, hardly any of us sort of look to that missing link, which is actually looking at like our nervous system fundamentally, like what's going on in our bodies. And the extension of that is our breath. Hardly any of us look to train our breath. So we're going to talk a little bit about that and a few other topics around that. But in terms of the breath specifically, just to say at this point, is that, we can all learn to train our breath. It's the most accessible thing that we all have at our disposal, and we can use it as a tool. It's so powerful that it can change the pH of your blood. So it can make it either more acid or more alkaline in minutes, and it can boost your digestion. It can boost your immunity. It can help to lower your heart rate, lower your cortisol levels, so all of those stress hormones that we hear so much about. And it can help you get to sleep at night. So, looking at some of the intentions that you guys have for this year, peace of mind, space for serenity, that kind of thing, a lot of these come down to maybe just having imbalances in some of those cortisol levels or your immunity or your energy levels. And, things like breathing exercises, if they're done safely and correctly, they can be like the most powerful ways and most reliable ways actually to control your mind, control your body, your nervous system, and your endocrine system, like your hormones and so on and so forth. And some of you may have heard me talk about this before, but it's worth reiterating. But, usually our breathing is like completely automatic. Like you don't even think about it. You're doing it right now. Nobody's in your ear going like, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. Like it's just happening. And there are breathing patterns that are associated to like every different kind of emotional state. So let me give you an example. So what happens, like if you're walking down the pavement, for example, and you step off the pavement and literally a car like whizzes past you and you almost get hit by it, like what are you going to do? You're going to breathe in and like take a massive suck in and just like protect yourself and cover you over. So you do a huge inhale, and that's like a really strong, what we call a sympathetic nervous system response, or a fight flight response. And the thing is that so many of us in this modern life are breathing this way, like as if we're about to get hit by a car, not maybe as extreme as that all the time, but we're breathing like that, like as if we're about to be hit by a car, kind of all day long. We're sort of over breathing and we're breathing really fast and we don't even realize it. So what's happening is a lot of us are breathing from our upper chest up here. There's actually a lot of breathing anatomy involved in breathing or respiration, but a lot of us are only breathing from our chests up here. So we're only losing like a limited capacity. A lot of us are actually only breathing from our mouths, you know, either because of congestion or because of blockages or just habit, and also the way our faces and we as humans have evolved, but we're breathing from our mouths. And we're also breathing backwards. Now, this is something especially that women will tend to do because the bikini body industry has a lot to answer for. Like how many of us have been sort of hoodwinked by like all the advertising of just like sucking your belly in and making your tummy flat. And it means that we've lost that ability to breathe from our lower belly. And we're sort of conditioned by society that having a belly is a bad thing. And so we suck it in. But actually, that means that we've lost a lot of that breathing capacity from down here. Not only that, but it means that we're breathing backwards. So what should happen is that when you breathe in, your belly should go out, you should inflate. And as you breathe out, your belly should come back in. But I bet you if you just noticed your breathing, if you just paid attention to, now I've told you, you'll probably be more aware of it. But you'll probably notice that if I had asked you to take a short, sharp inhale, your tummy probably would have sucked in. Or even if you look at like kids, if you tell them to like really hold your breath, their whole body sort of goes like this, and they sort of do this, and they're sucking their bellies in when instead they should be breathing out. So there's a few common mistakes that we're making in our breathing. We've just kind of forgotten how to breathe correctly. And then when you add on top of that the fact that like modern life with like fast typing, instant gratification, notifications, all those sort of dopamine hits and things like that, all these endless Zooms that we're doing, God, who would do that, eh? And the notifications that we got on our phone, just ping, ping, ping. COVID, obviously, modern life is just fast and unrelenting. We talk fast, we type fast, we move fast, and we don't really give ourselves enough time to breathe, like literally. So, and imagine what that does to your body. Imagine what it does to your mind and to your life, like over a prolonged period of time. And so this over breathing, like, I'm wondering if you might see that some of these symptoms are familiar. So other symptoms associated with this over breathing are anxiety, stress, insomnia, snoring, poor memory, poor digestion, brain fatigue. I mean, I've got a really, really long list, but they're kind of like the highlights. Does that sound kind of familiar to anybody? I can see some nodding heads and some thumbs. Yeah, okay. So essentially what I want to kind of just say to you is that if you're feeling any of those things, and there's a lot more, it's really just confirmation that you're probably over breathing and that you're probably in this fight or flight mode, this survival mode, and you're not alone. So one of the biggest problems that we have in our modern society right now is that people just aren't very good at like down regulating their system and giving themselves space and time, like space for serenity, Jill. We're not very good at prioritizing that. And so what we see is a lot of people getting into like a constant nervous system, like tug of war, and our it's a hard word to say, sympathetic nervous system is like cranked all the way up to 11 and beyond. you know, we all know that we can like power up by like drinking coffee. Thanks, Sam, on prompt, thank you. Drinking coffee or chugging an energy drink of some description, and then we'll be ready to go. But, you know, show me how you can go in reverse from like 11 down to 0 and even like -11. I'm hoping some people get like the Spinal Tap reference with the 11, by the way, because otherwise that just sounds a bit like a random number. But essentially what I want to say is that it's like you've kind of been in the emergency room for too long. So like and as a result, like all of your supplies have run out, which is going to put you somewhere. Don't be scared of this word. It's going to put you somewhere on the burnout scale. The reality is that we're all somewhere on that burnout scale. And, you know, you don't have to be like at death's door, literally being signed off work to say you've got burnout. Like we've all got a different scale or a different sort of a frequency or amplification of burnout. And so that means that you're just going to be running on like what's called adrenalized energy, depleting your reserves over and over. And what's that going to do? It's going to cause more anxiety, more digestion issues, poor sleep. So you can kind of see how this is like, you know, a cause and effect type situation. It's just a never ending loop that just keeps putting you into these sort of downward spirals. And then there's the other side of the spectrum. So like the nice side is like, what happens when you see somebody that you love, you know, somebody like especially like maybe during COVID time, somebody that you haven't seen in ages walks through the door. Like, what do? Are you going to inhale and cover yourself up, or are you going to relax and exhale and do a big sigh and a big coo? You know, you're going to go like, oh, and you're going to sort of expand and open up. And it's quite likely that for a lot of you, you know, many of you haven't breathed that way in a long time, especially if you've been held away from a lot of your loved ones over COVID or for whatever reason. And so just imagine like what depriving yourself of that might do to your body, your mind, and your life. So, you know, we're designed to oscillate between these two modes. So you've got the fight, flight, the alert, survival mode. And then you've got the other side of the coin, which is the rest, digest, recuperate. Okay. Does that make sense? Does everybody kind of understand that? Yeah. So but the thing is that we need both to be in harmony, and we can't be in one when we're in the other. They're kind of mutually exclusive. They're literally like binary, you know, you're either in one or you're in the other. And the part of the layering on of this is the conditioning that we've all been conditioned that rest is somehow lazy or less than, you know, and so we don't prioritize our rest or our recuperation enough. So that's kind of the basics of the autonomic part of things. But it's really important for you to understand that, because what I want you to know is that it's possible for you to override that, you know, to shift gears manually so you can put yourself into that rest and recovery mode when you need to, but also just shifting into that mode regularly so you can replenish your resources. And you do that by using the very same thing that put you there, which is ... your breath. So you can use your breath to shift yourself into these different modes as and when you need to. So you can take control over your nervous system. You can switch back between the modes fluidly, more fluidly, and yet simply by using your breath as a tool. So just imagine like how the quality of your life might improve if you stopped being so much in that autopilot and took back control of your mind, your body, and your nervous system. So I hope you can kind of see where I'm going with this. Like starting off with what I said at the beginning is like, if you want your 2021 to be different, I know it sounds a bit flippant, but all you need to do is take control. And the difference between people who get stuck and the people who thrive is that the people who thrive focus on things as opportunities rather than focusing on the obstacles. They focus on what they can do rather than the reasons why they can't do it. And a simple brain hack that you can add on to this is that, and this is going to serve you really well no matter what, is turning your problems into projects. You know, so if you look back at what happened over 2020, I want you to kind of look at them and reflect on them and be grateful, for example, that you've noticed that you have bad sleep. Be grateful that you've noticed that you've got anxiety. Be grateful that you've noticed that you've got stress. know that you can do something about it and make 2021 the year that you do something about that, or take control of your life in a different way. So you can be thankful for things like COVID. You know, I've spent quite a lot of time journaling about how grateful I am to COVID, which, you know, some people resonate with that. Some people hold their arms up and just, you know, say how terrible a year it was. But I really feel for me like it was a year of full awakening and a year for reflection. Even the lockdown, you know, gave me gifts, and I'm very fortunate, I know that. But, you know, in terms of like looking at the craziness of 2020, if you look at that and say, okay, well, what was crazy? What was out of control? And it's telling you what didn't work. It's telling you maybe what you don't want. You don't want the craziness. So, you know, that's why today I wanted to kind of share with you like 5 steps that you can take so that you can take control, that you can do something about it. So before I do that, I just kind of, you know, wanted to say, like, who the hell am I to be even like telling you this stuff? Because I know a few of you on this call already, but there are some people who I haven't met. So I just thought I'd introduce myself and explain a little bit about who I am and why the hell you're spending this Sunday morning talking to me. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Jess Holiday. And until about 2015, I was living in London, and I was living that sort of fast-paced life, as we do when you sort of live in a city. That was basically, if I'm being honest, you know, in the end, it was very fueled on drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, and I was surviving the rat race. On paper, everything looked great. But I was experiencing what I now know was burnout. And that's not because, you know, my company was overworking me. It's just kind of an occupational hazard of modern life these days. And it was partly down to like how I was living my life and the way that we are just all conditioned to run. Like I said, that fast pace, that fast typing, that just go, 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 no prioritization of rest or time off. So I was experiencing what I now know as burnout. And I would say that I was really distanced from who I really was and what I wanted to do in life. And I didn't really have a clue like how to find it. And I had a sort of a breakdown towards the end of 2015. Like on the outside, I probably looked fine, but on the inside, I was just a mess. And as it turns out, my breakdown became my breakthrough. You know, so I am far from perfect, but what I can say is that thanks to these practices, you know, I've learned yoga, meditation, breathing, visualization, Reiki, lots of different sort of healing modalities. But sort of as a cause and result, I am now drug, alcohol, and smoke free. I'm a mind body wellness coach, teaching meditation, yoga, breathwork online to people all around the world. So I'm here because I made like small incremental decisions and small investments in myself and in my health to basically lean into what felt right and to lean away and to let go of what no longer served me. I know people use that phrase a lot, but, you know, just kind of letting go of like, what shit do I need to let go of? You know, oh, by the way, I might drop a few F-bombs or swear words, so I hope nobody gets too offended by that in this. But, you know, I was just leaning into what felt right. And over time, that's landed me here in Devon, where like my only addiction is meditation and wild swimming. Hi, Jude. High five. And you know, I'm a bit of a wellness nerd these days, and I'm just surrounded by the countryside, and I'm talking to you lovely people about practices that could change your life for the better. So I think that's pretty amazing. And like for me, especially like meditation and breathing, that totally got me through 2020, like absolutely no question. I don't know what I would have done without it. So I'm just kind of pumped to share with you these 5 steps that are going to help you feel more relaxed, refocused, and recharged in 2021. And as I explain these to you, you know, don't listen, you don't have to listen to me. These aren't mine. I've just curated together like a suggestion of things that you could do. I'm just curating them. So as I share these tips, listen to your body, you know, like just tune into what feels good for you, what feels right for you. Because like self-awareness and like using your intuition as your guide, that's going to be like instrumental, you know, in helping you to take back control and to just like figure out what the next steps are for you. So I'm just going to quickly share my screen. Hopefully I can make the technology work, and hopefully you can see this. Can I get a thumbs up? Oh no, that's not the right one. That's not the one I want to share. Or is it? Hang on. There. Can you see? Can you see that? The 5 points. Excellent. Great. Technology works. Fantastic. So if you want to, you can take a screen grab. Can you still see it? Just making sure you can still see it. Yeah. So if you want, you can take a screen grab of that. I'm going to go through each of them, but I just wanted to kind of summarize what they were before we got going. So the first one is going to be set your vision, and set your vision with a capital Y-O-U-R. So that will make sense in a moment. But setting your vision, taking inspired action, processing your stress, prioritizing time off, and then making time for daily practices. So I'm going to just take that off the screen. Has everybody got that written down and that needs to? Yeah, because I'd just rather see your pretty faces than having that up there. And I think it can just be quite impersonal when you have a PowerPoint or whatever up. So personally, I like for you to see my face, and I like for me to be able to see your faces too. So these are the 5 areas in your life that I suggest, that you focus on in terms of like inspired actions. So number 1, setting your vision. So like I said before, this is kind of like the time of the year when people start to talk about New Year's resolutions. And for sure, like the end of the year is a great time to reflect. It's that poignant time when, we all start to take an audit. But, studies have shown that like New Year's resolutions rarely work. Like hands up, I've probably broken so many resolutions that I've made throughout, my previous years. So instead, there's a process I want you to try, which is going to work, I think, or has been proven to work far better. And that goes beyond resolutions to making a more structured process that starts with you establishing like a vision of the person you want to be out in the future. So that could be 12 months, it could be 3, 5, or even 10 years ahead. So that starts with taking control of what's within your control. So within your sphere of influence, as it were. And really, it's an obvious thing, but have you asked yourself, like, you want to get really clear on what it is that you do want? What do you want 2021 to look like? So kind of do this exercise of jumping ahead to the end of the year and looking back. Like if you smashed 2021 like out the park, what would it look like to you? Like what would you have achieved? Like, and try and be as specific as you can. So maybe looking at like what you achieved in 2020 and what you want to build upon, and if you make this a practice each year, then when you look back and you reflect on like, if I look at say what, end of 2019, start of 2020, what that Jess wanted versus what I want this year, I can see what I've achieved and I can build upon that, or I can say, well, that didn't quite work out for me, why? And I can sort of think about it. So just look at what worked and build upon it, but really just sort of focus, start with the end in mind and just flick yourself forwards, like say either 12 months or 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, and just think, what would it be that you'd want to achieve? So think about it and then write it down. I can see some of you are scribbling away there. And if any of you feel called to like share anything, because sometimes just like actually writing these things down and saying them out loud is, half the battle. And what I will say is that, less than 1% of people set goals in the population. So if you're already setting goals, you're 99% ahead of everybody else. So you're in that top 1% who are setting goals. So that's the first thing. And then less than 3% of that 1%, so a tiny percent, actually look at those goals every single day. So if you even got just one goal for what you want to achieve in 2021, just write it down and put it on your fridge and just look at it every day. Just make sure that it's front and center. And then what I want you to think is about this phrase is probably a little bit overused, but what is your why? What is your purpose for attaining that vision? And I want to explain that. Is this for you, or is it because somebody else wants it, or because somebody else did it and you think it would be quite cool? Is this really your vision? Is this really coming from somewhere inside you? Like, what's the energy that's backing up that desire? Like, is it coming from inside you? Or is it like coming from outside? So for example, you want to get a really cool house because you want everybody else to think that you're really rich or whatever. You want to get some external validation. You want to lose weight because you want to look good to other people. Like, external validation isn't going to get you anywhere. You want to kind of get in touch with what your selfish why is. I say, like for example, if nobody else was on the planet and nobody else was looking, like, why would you want it? You know, if nobody else was here to see it, judge you, validate you, like, why would you want that thing? You know, so this is going to like help you to really like tune into like the higher purpose, like the deeper reason for why you want something. And when you get in touch with like the joy and the pleasure that you get from something, like that's what's going to get you up in the morning doing the thing, or it's going to keep you going when you're really low and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake, I can't be asked to do this anymore. When you have that feeling, you just connect back with the joy and you just say like, you know, it's really cool to dream about this desire because it makes me feel like this. And so to get yourself started in this area, you might sort of say like, what is my ideal in my health, for example? But a really cool prompt that I like to use is, wouldn't it be cool as fuck if ... So wouldn't it be cool as fuck if I had a strong, lean, healthy body, or, you know, whatever it is for you. So you could kind of use that prompt to just get in touch with why you want what you want, that deeper desire. And it's that motivation or that emotion of joy and happiness that's going to really just resonate and bring you back to center when you're feeling a little bit, you know, a little bit sort of lost. So you can break these down into 4 different areas if you want. So you could start looking at like your career and your money, your relationships, health and fitness, and creative expression or purpose, whatever you want to call it. So you kind of maybe have your big vision for 2021, and then you have those 4 areas, which is just going to help you to evolve. So again, that's career and money, relationships, your health and your fitness, and your creative expression. So like I said, just use those prompts, like what is my ideal in my health? What is my ideal in my career? What is my ideal in my creative expression? And what is my ideal in my relationships? And you can use those to build on it. And then just layering onto that, we're still on point 1, by the way. So here's a hack for this particular area, is that you can train your subconscious by using like positive present tense affirmative statements. So you're going to write these things out as if they've already happened. And then you're going to say them every day, even if it's just like one thing. It doesn't have to be massive. So I want you to kind of say it like it's happening now, like you're remembering the future as if it's a memory. So rather than like a New Year's resolution, which is I want to reduce stress, you could set a new outcome, like I am open to creative solutions for a calm and peaceful mind, or in the present tense, I make my mental health and well-being a priority, or I make time for my self-care. Like, do you see the difference between those already, like energetically, rather than saying like, I want to reduce my stress versus I make time for my self-care? If you keep saying that to yourself over and over, what I'll tell you is, you know, there comes a point where we're like, of course I'm going to do that thing because I make time for my self-care. So it's like you have this little conversation with your subconscious, which just flicks things and helps to change your behavior. So at this point, I'd just be really interested if anybody's got like maybe a new outcome that they want to declare. Maybe this has just piqued their interest and they want to put it into the chat and then see if anybody gets some inspiration from it, perhaps. You know, maybe you're making time for self-care or whatever it might be. If you feel called to share with the group, share with the class, that would be wonderful. So just whilst I'm waiting for those to come in, just have a little sip of some upregulating juice. Is this making sense to everybody? Am I speaking sense? Good. Georgia says to have a positive attitude to life than being negative. Yeah. So Georgia, I would say even to just like say, rather than say to have, just change it to like I am, or I have, or I am prioritizing a positive attitude. Like make it positive and affirmative and in the present tense, like as if you've already got it. So imagine you were having a conversation with somebody and they just say like, so what do? You go, oh, well, you know, I just make time for positivity or whatever. Just, you know, turn it into like an I am positive affirmative statement as if it's already happened. So, because if you kind of see like to say to have, it sort of implies like it's in the future, like you don't already have it. Does that make sense? So just kind of changing it to being present tense. So Tori says, I'm focused on letting go of past guilt. Awesome. Perfect. I make time to learn more and share and help others. Love that, Ashley. It's great. Jill says, I'm prioritizing my mental health and living just for today, stopping procrastination. Yeah, brilliant, Jill. I mean, I would even say, you know, go one further and like, instead of saying stopping procrastination, you know, that's sort of being like, I'm not saying it's negative, but that's coming from like maybe a place of lack. So maybe just saying like, I'm open to creative solutions to, you know, move me forwards or something like that. So just looking at that procrastination and maybe just like tweaking it a little bit, and adding in something different that helps you sort of break through that. Because stopping procrastination is kind of like it's like, I don't know how to say it. It doesn't really get you anywhere. You know, the goal is to stop, but actually what you want is to move forwards. So be affirmative in what it is that you do want. You know, if you're not being procrastinating, what are you being? You're being proactive and forward. So does that make sense? My approach to work is calm and confident. Love that, Jude. Simone says, I communicate my needs clearly and my relationships are deeper. Brilliant. So I'm hoping you can kind of vibe with the difference, you know, of just putting these goals in a different tense. You know, it's just going to help you move closer and attract them to you more. And I just really encourage you to just even put that on a post-it note or just put it somewhere where you can see it every day. And say that to yourself as you're making your breakfast, or, you know, if you have a meditation practice in the morning, just, you know, putting those there. So this is that was the first step. And in terms of the second step, then you want to take inspired action. So in other words, you want to break down that goal into like break that long-term vision into like yearly or even quarterly goals and attainable tasks. So have that chat with yourself and just say, how are you aligning yourself with that dream or that aspiration, like right now? Like, what are your actions and your habits? Like, how are they aligned with those goals, those dreams, those aspirations? Like, what kind of what person do you need to become? Maybe what experiences do you need to have? You know, and if you're not aligned, then break it down step by step, you know, the specific things you need to do in order to shift your life and attain your vision. So, you know, that kind of means like creating a plan with intentional habits to get you there, or to look at the classes that you need to do, or whatever it is that you need to do. You know, kind of have that honest conversation with yourself and just say like, well, if I want that thing, I need to do this. Or, you know, if I want to make my mental health a priority, I maybe need to schedule in like 5 minutes of mindfulness in the morning. You know, just really take like a long, hard look in the mirror and say, well, if that's what I want, what am I doing already to get there? And it doesn't have to be massive. It can just be like a small shift. But if you think that like the effort that you put in now is for the person that you'll become in those 12 months, like I literally to the day, I am now 3 years sober. So 3 years ago today, I gave myself the gift of sobriety. And here I am talking to you lovely guys, you know, about these sort of changing mindset shifts. You know, and that's been the best gift that I've ever given myself. But I didn't think that at the time. It just, you know, incrementally, it's just like little things. I just got through the first day, the first hour, you know, of that. And it's added up to where I am today. So yeah, the care that you take in, whether it's your health, your career, your love life, whatever, it isn't for you today specifically. It's for the person you're going to be in a week, in a month, in 12 months. So just kind of have that person, that higher version of yourself in mind, and always think to yourself, you know, if you make growth and expansion your priority, then I'm telling you, you know, your life is just going to soar. So look back to what you wrote down in step 1 and just think to yourself, like, what small act can you take today to push yourself and expand your life for the better? So it might be making a phone call. It might just be looking into a class that you can take. It might be looking at your calendar and prioritizing, you know, what it is that's going to get you there, even if it's, like you said, even if it's just 5 minutes of something. Like, and I kind of challenge you to say, like, what inspired action could you take over the next 24 hours to get you closer to that? You know, you don't have to change everything completely overnight. That's just unrealistic. But it's these little tiny shifts that you do, those little acts of courage that are going to, you know, add up over time. And it's those subtle shifts is what's going to change everything. So anyone perhaps brave enough to put in the comments, like, what it is they're going to do over the next 24 hours? to take themselves closer to their goals. No pressure, but you know, if you feel called to and you've got something that you know you're going to do. I'm waiting to see if we've got any brave souls. Write a list, good one. Thanks, Jude. Yeah, so there's no pressure to do it, guys, but obviously, there we go. So I will dedicate 5 minutes of my day to practice mindfulness. Perfect. So this is the thing. It's just, you know, the accumulation of these little acts of courage is what's going to get you there. And I'll come on to it later, but really, you know, the duration of stuff isn't really the important part. It's the frequency and it's the consistency and it's sort of showing up, you know, and doing those little acts of courage every single day. So step number three is about processing your stress. So this is like, if you really want relaxation, then you need to understand that stress exists in your body. It's like a physiological thing. And you want to get into the practice of learning how to let go of it. Okay. So stress is a physiological phenomenon that impacts every single system and function in our bodies, including our immune system, our digestive functioning, and our hormones and our endocrine system. So you need to kind of understand this, that you need to separate your stress, as in the physiological, from the stressor or the trigger, which is the psychological side of things. So your psychological stressors might be things like family, your job, COVID, politics, Donald Trump, Joe Biden, depending on your point of view, you know, whatever that might be. You've got psychological stresses, which you deal with, we all deal with every single day. And then you've actually got the physiological stress that happens in your body. So what you need to do is you need to separate the stress from the stressor and process the stress out of your body so that you're well enough to deal with the stressors, basically. So when you're processing your stress, you're literally like eliminating the toxins from your body. And that can come in the form of dancing, laughing, crying, meditation, mindfulness. And the easiest way is breathing. So like literally taking a breath of fresh air or doing a sigh of relief, it just does wonders. So even just practicing breath awareness for a few minutes is amazing. So why don't we do that? Let's just do a few minutes of breath awareness right now. So we're going to do a really easy technique that requires absolutely no equipment, no experience. And I want you to, it's called 16 seconds. And what I want you to do is to just get yourself comfortable. Make sure you can just sit up straight or just sit on your sofa, whichever. And I want you to just make yourself nice and comfortable and gently closing your eyes. And then I want you to just start with a nice, long, slow, deep inhale through the nose. Rolling your shoulders up, back, and down as you exhale. Relax your face, relax your jaw, relax your shoulders, and just come into a place of stillness. And just watching your breath slowly in and out of your nose, just for a few moments. Just feeling your body settle. And then what I want you to do is, as you inhale through your nose, just want you to count to 4 as you inhale and just watch your breath slowly as it moves into you and follow it down deep into your belly. So counting to 4, and then when you get to 4, just hold the breath in and count to 4 and witness as that breath sits in your belly. And when you get to 4, just slowly start to release your breath to the count of 4, observing it as it moves back up through you, out your nostrils. And as you exhale, when you get to the count of 4, just watching your breath, and as you get to 4, just hold the breath out for a count of 4. So breathing in, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath, 2, 3, 4. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath, 2, 3, 4. Just keep going like that in your own rhythm for a little while, just witnessing the whole time as you move through this simple 4-part breathing exercise. So you'll notice that 16 seconds, one round, is all it takes to just practice just a little bit of presence. And you can gently increase your practice to a minute. We're probably already at a minute, or 5 minutes. And it's just going to gently infuse just a bit of stillness and clarity into your life. And just move that needle. So just releasing the breath and coming back slowly into this time and space together, just gently opening your eyes. So the amazing thing about breathing is that not only does it help you to process your stress in the moment, but it can help you shift your body into that different mode and help you build your resources back up. It can also help you boost your energy whenever you need it to. So when you learn how to consciously breathe, it's like you gain the ability to change the weather, like to switch on the warm summer sunshine whenever you want. And when you learn how to game the breath, you're empowered, you're in control. You can learn to upregulate your system, balance your system out, or downregulate your system as needed. So step number 4 is to prioritize your rest or your time off. So like I said, if you take nothing else away from this workshop, it's that you need to prioritize your sleep and your rest. And I really want you to, sort of focus and listen into this. So remember that what you've been experiencing are symptoms of that sympathetic nervous system state or that fight-flight response. And it's okay to be in that mode sometimes, but like I said before, we need balance. So rest just means anything that isn't working or being alert. It doesn't just mean sleep. And it doesn't mean you're being lazy or idle either. So it can be reading, sleeping, writing, exercise, meditation, making food, conversation, or breathing specifically, like doing a specific breathing practice like we did. So when you make sure to do this for at least, they say 10 hours a day, you should have 42% of your day should be dedicated to time off and rest. You rebalance your nervous system. So if you're having trouble focusing, you can't think straight, it's probably because you're in survival mode and you need to switch up, or you need to increase the amount of time that you spend resting. If you're having trouble sleeping, it's usually because, going back to point 3, it's usually because you have dealt with your stressors of the day, but you haven't dealt with the stress itself. So you haven't switched modes, and that means that your brain just isn't going to let you rest. And that's why we often go to bed feeling wired but tired. We're just still in that survival mode. We haven't processed the stress enough. But by consciously changing your daytime breathing routine and working with your breath practices before you sleep, it's going to help you transition into rest. And that's going to facilitate a much better night's sleep, and that's going to have a knock-on effect to your next day. So by prioritizing rest and time off, you're just going to help to boost your body's resilience to handling life and replenishing your resources. Now, this part is going to be probably especially difficult or hard for people who are in positions of care to get on board with, because I think a lot of people who are in those positions, whether they're parents, teachers, doctors, nurses, they're just so used to putting other people first that they deprioritize their own time off, their own rest period, and it's really to their detriment. So I'm really speaking directly to those people who have spent a long time putting other people first, and their time off is, sub 42% or sub 10 hours. But for sure, you can get by on less, but it's a bit like if you sent your daughter to primary school and they just said they were giving her half portions at lunch, then be like, well, she can get by. It's like, it's sort of, you wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable about the fact that, they're getting half of what they need. So you for sure can get by on less rest and time off, but that's what's going to come back, or probably is what's coming back to bite you on the bum. So, you need to learn, or those people need to learn to put their oxygen masks on first, so that they're just better able to look after the people that are within their care. But, regardless of whether you're a caregiver or not, the more you prioritize your time off, the better you are going to be able to return to your work more focused than you were before. So you'll actually be able to work smarter in less time because your resources are more replenished. So I hope that kind of makes sense. You know, this idea that we've all been taught, like, you know, manage on less sleep. You know, there's sort of like just these conditioned like ideas that, you know, if you sleep too much, or that the less sleep, the stronger I am, you know, like, oh yeah, I only need like 4 hours sleep a night. Like it's rubbish, you know. And I think this is going to be something that's going to pop up a lot more. And hopefully vanguards of like industry and businesses are going to start to really prioritize this time off, you know, and that can come in many guises, which leads me nicely on to step 5, which is making time for daily practices or routines that are going to help you and assist you with your time off and your rest and your recuperation. So, you know, marrying sort of steps 2 with step 4, you know, looking at what you wrote down in your step 2, like what intentional habits are you going to be doing each day? And what are you making time for? So I'm a big one for statistics, but you are 42% more likely to achieve your goals and objectives if you write them down, and if you plan them in. So what gets scheduled gets done. And I'd like to bring in a quote by Albert Einstein at this point, which is, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking that we used when we created them. So I like to kind of think of this as, you know, you can't think your way out of a physical problem in the same way that you can't feel your way out of a maths problem. You know, if you have a stress or a sleep or an anxiety problem, that's actually a physiological thing. It's a body project. So you need to kind of turn it into a body project by focusing on embodied physical practices, like 5-minute breathing practice, you know, where you're going to learn to talk your body's language and specifically learn to like process the stress out of your body. And then by putting them into consistent practice, that's when you're going to start to shift the gears. So like I said, the duration is irrelevant. It does help, obviously, but consistency is really the key. Like showing up even, you know, for 5 minutes a day is far better than doing 30 minutes once a year or 60 minutes never. You know, so plan it into your Google Diary, like take some time over the next week to like look at what your priorities are. And just, even if you just put in a note on your Google Calendar, the fact that you see it every day, it just means that you're more likely to fix that and prioritize that in your day. And you're just going to be more likely to do it. And it means that you're in that top 1% of people who are not only writing down their joy-driven goals, but you're also looking at them every day. So I hope that that all made sense and that you've got some value out of those 5 steps. I'd love to kind of, you know, get any comments in the chat below to see what people specifically like resonated with. And if anybody's got any questions that they want to ask about those 5 steps. I'm just going to get a sip of water. Sarah's asked me, can I clarify the categories of rest again? Yes, I can. So let me just go back to that. So I think you mean like the different ways that we can get rest. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah. So I'm just going to scooch back to... So rest, basically, I hope I'm answering this question correctly. Rest just means anything that's not working. So it can be sleep, it can be exercise, it can be meditation. Are these the ones you're thinking of? Yeah. It can be making food, having conversation. And I'll send you the recording as well, Sarah, so you can look back and listen. But writing, doing art, you know, doing anything that's just kind of like employing what they call your default mode network. So it's kind of like this other part of your brain, you know, so it's just switching up. So you're not doing this anymore, but you're doing something else. And it's really just giving your brain the time it needs to like assimilate information. So when we say rest, it's like rest, leisure, time off, just allowing your brain to do something different other than the work that you're doing. Does that make sense? Does that answer your question? Okay, perfect. Let me see if I've got any more questions. Jill says, really great, Jess. Thank you. I love the approach of using the present tense for my intentions. It feels more real and more empowering. Mission accomplished. Awesome. So Charlie, thanks. So helpful with the breathing. Is it always only ever through the nose as opposed to the mouth? So you breathe out. So Charlie, this is a bigger topic, but the short answer is that breathing through your nose is just much better for you physiologically and nervous system wise. there is a book you might want to look up by James Nestor called Breathe, where he did a whole experiment about just mouth breathing. But suffice to say, when we're training the nervous system, it's best to use your nose because it humidifies the air, and neurologically it sends a different signal to your brain. Like when you breathe in and out through your mouth, like you'll know if you have a cold and you breathe in and out through your mouth, you know, when you wake up in the morning, like your mouth is totally dry and you've had the worst night's sleep. So that gives you a little clue about, you know, if you're just doing mouth breathing generally in your day to day, like what that's doing to your body. So there's a lot more I could say about it, but just to summarize, when you're doing specific conscious breath practices, the best thing really is to breathe in and out through your nose. There are some practices that will say like breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth, but it's kind of controlled and it's on purpose. But as a general rule, you don't want to be breathing in and out through your mouth only anyway. Yeah, Jude, I know that's the thing. It's very hard not to feel guilty, like taking self-time, but you know, self-care isn't a self-indulgence. That's what I would like to say. It should be a priority. It's an empowering skill set. That's kind of what I hope to see emerging more and more, you know, in the parlance and the conditioning, is that actually people who prioritize self-care are the ones who are going to thrive. So, you know, hopefully, like I said, companies are going to start prioritizing this. Thank you, Jess. I found it difficult to put others first, and you have given me tips to put myself first. I'm a planner already. Sam says oh, that's great, Kay. Thank you. I'm glad that you got some tips there. So Sam says, I'm a planner already, but can improve and tweak to improve points 1 and 5. The 7-day breathing challenge has been enlightening, so looking to do more of that. Great. And it's helped me to learn meditation, more than meditation, and can see more long-term use and benefits for the way I am. That's brilliant, Sam. Awesome. I love that. So Simone says, I've been really inspired by the whole hour. I cannot be specific about how this has helped us in the eye of the storm boat right now. So we are coming up close to the hour. I haven't quite finished. So if there are people that need to go at 11, as I suspected, I've probably talked a little bit too much, but there's a bit more for me to say. So if you do need to go, I totally respect that. And I can send you the recording after. But I'm really pleased to see the feedback, and I'm so glad that it helped. That was my intention. So what I wanted to just say was that, you know, if you're feeling this way, if these things have resonated with you today, and all of this has sounded familiar, then if you've been feeling stressed and anxious for a long time and you're not sleeping well, like maybe you're hiding under the duvet from life, then it just means that you're missing this part of this puzzle. And it also just means that your nervous system is out of whack and you're maybe not able to maintain that like healthy rhythm between the two modes. But, you know, you can do something about it. So like I said, Jude, like self-care shouldn't be a luxury or a self-indulgence. I just feel like it should be a priority. It should be being cordoned off and protected. And it should be of paramount importance to everybody and turned into like an empowering skill set. So, you know, we all really underestimate the power of our breath. And so I wanted to, like Sam says, I just wanted to share with you like an opportunity for those of you who feel like you want to have a little bit more support with that and to explore breathing in a different way. So I'm running a course, which some of you may have seen some promotion for. It's a group course called the Breath Academy, which starts next Saturday. And it's going to be a 4-week breath training course. And we're going to meet like once a week, every Saturday morning. So next Saturday, 10 a.m. we'll start. And it will be about an hour of lesson with practical breath instruction, Q&A, and you'll have 15 minutes of homework each day to do. And in this course, I'm going to break down like the fundamentals of breathing. So Charlie, we're going to get into like why nose breathing versus mouth breathing, for example. And it's going to be broken down in a way that you can easily remember it and apply it to your daily life. And I'm going to teach you 6 breathing techniques, which you can use as tools to help you relax, rest, as well as increase your energy and focus whenever you need it to. So I'm just going to quickly put the link to the course in the chat now so that you've got it, and I'll send it in an email as well. But I should perhaps start by saying what this course is not. So there's a lot of breathwork courses out there, things like Wim Hof or Soma breath, but this course is not designed to help you swim in cold water. And it's not designed to help you get into any altered states through, you know, like hardcore 30-minute, like heavy breathing sessions. No, this is like designed to be super practical with the emphasis on the science and the application to help you make real changes in your life in the areas of stress management, anxiety, digestion, sleep, all the things that we've talked about today. And I should also say that it's not specifically a meditation course. It doesn't use mantra or anything like that. I do teach meditation, visualization and mantra separately. So if you're interested in learning that or doing that with me, you can message me separately. You can send me an email on hello@beherewell.earth or get in touch with me another way. But for those of you some of you who have been on some of my meditation classes, this is a bit of a diversion from my usual style, in that it's much more scientific and less esoteric. But this means that it's something that I've been able to teach to people like my parents, who are not spiritual people at all, and they're so on board with it and they love it. And this is also something that I have been able to, as a yoga teacher, and I've also taught yoga teachers as well, benefited from, because it's just helped to like deepen their practice. Like when you understand like the what behind the how, it just helps you to go deeper. So in this course, you're going to get to like set your vision and take back control of one area of your life, being, like your health and your well-being. You'll get to take that inspired action. So you're going to like be able to set yourself health goals and measure your progress. And you're going to train your resilience and build back up your resources whilst you're at it. You're going to get to like implement a new daily intentional habit that's going to like move the needle in the direction you want. So whether that's peace, calm, serenity, rest and relaxation. And they do say that, it takes like 21 days to make a new habit. So this 30-day course is going to set you on like a path for success in your health goals anyway. And you're going to learn how to speak your body's language, by learning this embodied practice of breathing. And we're going to get into like the science, behind it, like the what behind the how. And you're going to learn how to like game your breath, switch on your body's ability to relax, to heal on demand. And you're going to be able to use your breath to process your stress and return to balance and just move fluidly between those two different modes. So my intention is that in 4 weeks, you'll have the foundations of a life skill that's going to carry you through 2021 and beyond. It's going to be something that you can teach your family and friends. So it's a foundational course which you can build upon. And how it's going to work is that people will be hooked up via like a group Telegram channel. And that's where you're going to get sent like daily breathwork practices 3 times a day. So this is going to be schedule friendly. It's only really 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at lunchtime-ish, and then 5 minutes before bed. So 15 minutes tops. And you'll be able to get all the downloads of all the lessons that we do and the recordings and so on and so forth. And you don't need to have had any experience. You don't need to be a yogi. This is ideal for beginners. And this is also a really great introduction for people who maybe want to learn meditation later. I always like to kind of say that like breath work is my gateway drug for meditation, because it's just a really easy way to just come into stillness and to bring yourself into that space. So for those of you that feel called or have any sort of intuition to do the course, the link is in the chat. And the cost of the course at the moment is £147 for the 4 weeks. I'm holding the price at the COVID reduced price that I had last year. But I'm actually going to start putting that back up again this year. So if you're interested to do the course, I recommend, getting in at that reduced price. So if anybody has any questions about the course or about anything that I've spoken about today, then I'd just like to open up the floor to anybody that wants to ask anything. Oh, did I just put, I put the link just directly to you, Jill. Oops, here we go. So here is the link now. There we go. So Jude asks, are we doing any other times other than Saturday mornings? The plan at the moment is to just do the Saturday mornings, but they will be recorded. So you'd be able to catch up on replay. And if you're in the Telegram group, then you will get the breathwork practices anyway. And the lesson obviously is where you were instructed in the breathwork practices. But you can always catch up on those later on in the day. So if you're able to access the recordings and watch later, at least within 24 hours, you're not going to be behind, but the breath practices are going to come to you anytime. Okay. So does anybody else have any more questions? I'm just going to take another sip. And we might do, later on, Jude, as I say, I'm probably going to repeat this course every quarter or so. And I'm also going to do some level 2. This is going to be like foundation level 1. And I'm going to build on that and do some like level 2, level 3 later on in the year. So we might look at doing some different times, doing it on different platforms and things like that. So we'll just see how the Saturday morning works for people. So I don't see any questions coming up in the chat, but if you guys are, I know I've slightly overrun on the time, so my apologies. I got really involved in all the chat questions, which are really cool to read. So if you still have time and you're okay, I'd like to just, if nobody else has any more questions, I'd like to just end with just a short guided breath relaxation to just kind of like lead us out. Oh, Charlie's got a question. So Charlie says, another question about the breathing, if I may. How long would you suggest doing the breathing for it to take effect? So on that question, Charlie, when you're learning, 5 minutes, 10 minutes is usually good. But what I would say is your body will tell you when it's done, when you're doing a particular practice. Part of the thing is like, feel like when you're learning to drive, okay, which is a bit of a weird thing to say, but when you're learning to drive, you're very much mirror, signal, maneuver, you're kind of learning and doing at the same time. But then at a certain point, you just know how to drive and you can just get to the destination without thinking about your driving. So it depends on where you are on your breath journey. If you're learning and you're getting into the technique, then you kind of want to bed in the muscle memory of doing the technique, and that might be just doing it for 5 minutes. But then once you know that, once it's bedded in, once you know how to do it, you can kind of let go of the technique a little bit and then just do it until your body tells you, like your body also, you'll sort of feel like, just something in your body will relax, release, and that will tell you. So it might be that you only need to do it for 5 minutes, but if you've had a super frantic day, it might be that you need to do it for 10 minutes or 15 minutes, depending on which practice it is that you're doing. You don't want to like overdo it, but you just want to listen to your body. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, so Sergi, thank you for your inspirational talk. I wanted to ask if you have any tips about to handle a big amount of workload and you have troubles getting focused, scattered brain. So yes, Sergi. So this really comes down to, again, this is quite a larger topic, but it's basically about bringing your brain into what's called coherence. And in terms of so at the moment you have a big amount of workload, which you're having a stressful response to. Okay, you're seeing that workload and you're having a physiological stressful response. And that's partly because you're in a stressed state, possibly already. When we learn to bring ourselves into coherence by doing more balancing practices, we start to bring our bodies into a state of coherence. And that just means that we're actually better able to handle those stressors. So do you remember I said before about separating the stress from the stressor? If you are able to just release the stress that you have right now and positively reframe and just work on your mindset about that workload, then you're able to handle that stress, or handle that stressor, I should say, a little bit better. So there isn't a quick fix, but I would say like breaking it down into achievable tasks and just reframing it again, just going back to my point before, which is turning your problem into a project. So managing your stress, bringing yourself back into balance, and then you'll be better able to look at that higher workload and separate it or break it down into manageable chunks so that you're just better able to handle that stressor. I could probably say a lot more about that, but I hope that in the short instance gives you some idea. But I think just being able to bring yourself into balance and reframing your perception of that workload will also help as well. I don't know if there's a way that you can see if you can be supported or offload some of it, but that would be my advice. So I hope that helps. So I don't see, unless anybody else you're welcome. Unless anybody else has any more questions, I'm going to just dive into, just like I said, just a short guided breath meditation, relaxation, just to kind of see us out, to bookend out. You're welcome, Sam. You're welcome. Okay, all right. So for those of us who are left, if you want to just make yourselves nice and comfortable, put down your pen, put down your book, put down your coffee, put down your phone, unless you're using it, and just bring yourself into a place of stillness and sitting up and just gently closing your eyes. So you can have your hands resting on your knees. I recommend just having them palm face down, just to help with grounding. And just relax your face, relax your shoulders, taking a nice, long, slow, deep breath in through the nose. And just gently let that go. And just for the next few moments, just observing your breath, traveling in and out of your nose. And just as we get going, just maybe making a mental note in your mind. If you were to put yourself on a number, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most super stressed and 1 being the most super chilled, super peaceful, like where you might place yourself on that scale. Just making a mental note of that. And just bringing your awareness now to your breath in and out of your nose. And I want you to just become aware of the parts of you that tell you that you're breathing. So maybe you're noticing that your belly rises as you inhale, or that your belly falls as you exhale. Maybe you're noticing that as you inhale, the air coming in through your nostrils is slightly cold. And as you exhale, maybe noticing that the air is slightly warmer. Just paying attention to the breath as it moves in and out through your body. Just noticing the parts of you that tell you you're alive, that you're breathing. And then as you inhale, I want you to focus on the word in. And as you exhale, just focus on the word out. And then as you inhale, I want you to focus on the word deep. And as you exhale, just focusing on the word slow. And as you inhale, I want you to focus on the word calm. And as you exhale, focusing on the word ease. And as you inhale, I want you to focus on the word smile. And as you exhale, focus on the word release. So we're going to practice presence using the 16-second method we did before to calm the mind and the body. Just know the truth that we cannot force our bodies to relax. We can only allow it to relax. So just starting with a nice, long, slow, deep inhale through your nose for a count of 4. Watch your breath slowly move into you and follow it down deep into your belly. And then hold the breath for a count of 4 and just simply witnessing it as the breath sits in your belly. And then release your breath to a count of 4, observing it as it moves back up through you and out of your nostrils. Just watch your breath as it continues to release out, and then hold your breath out for a count of 4. So breathing in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold empty, 4, 3, 2, 1. And just releasing the breath, just keeping your eyes closed, just breathing normally and taking a moment to just observe the effect of this practice on you. Just noticing that 16 seconds is all it takes to practice just a little bit of presence, to infuse just a tiny bit of stillness and clarity. Just see how with just a little bit of breath awareness, you can allow your body to relax and move the needle in the direction of peace and relaxation. When you feel ready to, just gently open your eyes, coming back into this time and space. So just thinking back to the number that you had in your mind at the beginning of that meditation, and just thinking to yourself whereabouts on that scale you are now, with 10 being super stressed and 1 being super chilled and super peaceful. And all you need to recognize is just whether you feel incrementally better than when you started, because incremental progress is still progress nonetheless. So if you were an 8 or 10 on the stress scale before, and now you're a 7 or a 6, you can look at yourself and say, yeah, that's pretty good. You know, you might have noticed that something's changed in your body, might have shifted, and just remember that you did that. You know, your body did that, and you did that using your breath, using your mind. That's a good sign, Jude. I quite like that. You went to sleep. That's all right. So that's it from me, guys, for today. I hope you have an amazing Sunday. I hope that you got some value out of that. If you've got any further questions, you're always free to reach out to me. And yeah, if you want to reach out, just please do so. And until we connect again, I just want to wish you a happy new year. Just thanks for being here. And we're going to rock 2021. Come on, we got this. So I'll send you the recording. You should have that pretty soon. But yeah, thanks everybody for being with me on Sunday. And thanks for your patience. I'm sorry I overran slightly, but I'm sure you will forgive me. So have a great Sunday, everybody. Bye, 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 bye.